Hey, real quick, just a reminder that every single plan for Bear, both the monthly and the annual plan, are currently half price until the end of the year. Just use the code FOUNDER right here. Please go subscribe. But now let's talk about my favorite photos of 2025. Oh, 2025, what a year. We're finally at the very end, and I wanted to take a few minutes and talk about some of my favorite photos that I've taken over the past 12 months. I love doing this equally for myself as much as I love doing it for all of you because I feel like it's a really good practice to look back at all the amazing artwork that you've created over the past year and dissect it. Understand why you loved it so much, understand the moments that you were in taking those photos, and taking all that into the new year to then build on top of it. And year over year, it's also really cool to see how my top picks change over time. Like this year, for example, you'll see that there is a pretty common thread in terms of the genre of photography in this selection, and I think that speaks a lot to you or me evolving as creatives and as artists. But in the spirit of making this video not too long, here are my top 10 photos for 2025. Oh, also in no particular order because I can't possibly order any of these. They're just my top 10 picks. This first picture is actually a picture I took only a couple weeks ago of this beautiful model named Paula here in Mallorca, Spain, and it is really important to me because this year I've been working a lot to try and improve my telephoto tight portraits. I shot this picture on the Tamron 70 to 180mm lens around the 150mm mark, and a picture like this, although it might seem simple or basic at first, honestly I've been trying to nail over the course of several shoots now, and I think this is finally it. The combination of the perfect sun direction and weather we had that day, Paula herself being so amazing on camera, and the technical execution of shooting this tight portrait at 150mm really, I think, just comes together in this picture. Alright, photograph number 2 is a picture I shot of my friend Grace back where I'm from in Ontario, Canada, and this is a shoot that we did kind of in collaboration with an amazing brand called Rowing Blazers. As you can see, she's wearing a Rowing Blazers knit sweater and pair of pants. And the cool central theme around this shoot was that Grace herself is a horseback rider and has been her entire life. And so we wanted to combine that side and passion of Grace with the overall aesthetic of the Rowing Blazers brand and obviously the presence of a horse, one of Grace's horses, to come together in a final picture. Now we did do a whole photo shoot behind this idea, but this was one of my favorite pics from that shoot and I absolutely love it. I shot this one on my Tamron 28 to 75mm lens, but most importantly, I shot this with a off-camera strobe on a very bright, high noon sunny day. Again, another technique I've been experimenting more with over the past year has been outdoor strobes, and I think we really pulled it off in a shoot like this. Photograph number 3 is, well, actually 2 photographs because they're from the exact same shoot that I did with my friend and fellow photographer Nairi and this beautiful model Laura just north of Lisbon in Portugal. I shot both of these images on my Canon EOS 1N film camera with, I believe it was Portra 160 as the film stock. And both of these were shot using an 85mm prime. On my 35mm film camera specifically, I've been loving the compression that 85mm gives me on portraits like this with a lot of landscape and background to work with, and in both cases I was really able to isolate the subject Lara away from the background while still giving context to the beautiful beachy sunny day that she was in. Again, if you've watched my videos, you know how much I love movement in poses, and in both of these pictures I have Lara doing something as opposed to just posing for the camera. In this photograph I have her putting on a pair of pants, and in the other photo I have her climbing this small rock. Both of which are not actual poses per se, but I kind of shot those moments and I think they translated really nicely and cohesively with the overall aesthetic of this scene. Next is another photo I shot here in Mallorca, Spain with this beautiful model named Selena, and again, I'm really big into framing and frames within frames, and this house has beautiful windowsills, beautiful window frames that we can shoot in, and of course having a really gung-ho and down model to shoot with, they're always able to make any kind of basic square frame a bit more interesting. Now again, I had Selena move around a lot in this windowsill, not just this one position, but for whatever reason, I loved her energy and her attitude in this shot specifically, and I love that her straight legs form a diagonal 45-degree line that is obviously opposite or different than the squared off 90-degree straight lines of the window. I love that she's looking off camera. I love that her hair is half in her face. I love that relaxed attitude that she has. Overall, one of my favorite pictures of the year. This next photograph is actually from my last trip here in Mallorca, Spain, which was 3 months ago. As you can tell, I love this place. And it was shot again with my Tamron 70 to 180mm lens, all the way at the tight 180mm focal length. And basically what had happened was we were on this beach for several hours and I saw this small boat in the distance. And once or twice over the course of a few hours, I saw this one person on the boat jump off and dive into the water. And so I thought, okay, I need to wait for another moment of her doing that exact same thing again. It was obviously a couple of some sort, and I did. I was patient, and sure enough, I managed to capture this amazing shot. I love it, at least, with the bright boat against that dark, deep, rich black water. Well, at least black because it's black and white. And the woman there seen diving into the water at literally the exact perfect moment. Just honestly a picture that I would get framed in my house just because I love the overall vibe and energy it gives off. No question about it, one of my favorite shots of the year. Next is probably the most abstract picture on this list, and it was shot here again in Mallorca a few months ago of my friend and model Bernice. And this was actually a shot that was shot further back, but I decided to go heavier on the crop because of how beautifully the light was sculpting the body and what Bernice was wearing. If you were to zoom out on this photo, you would see that Bernice was wearing a suit jacket and suit pants at the beach, which is interesting in and of itself, and we have lots of pictures covering that as well. But for whatever reason, I loved the framing of the suit jacket around her torso, and obviously the pants coming up just below the belly button, and then the contrast between that rich black suit and the skin tone. I'm always really obsessed with how light falls off onto a model and how it helps to sculpt and shape their body, and this is a prime example of that. Photograph number 7 is actually a picture I took of my fiance Brittany while we were in Lisbon, Portugal, and this again was shot on 35mm film, Portra 160 on my Canon EOS 1N. Now this was at the very end of a long trip in Europe, and so we only had a couple days at this hotel in Lisbon. Honestly, at this point in the trip, we were just really tired and wanting to relax all day long, and luckily it was beautifully sunny, beautifully warm, and we had this gorgeous Juliet-style balcony that we definitely made the most of. My favorite thing about this photo is the genuine candidness and realness of the moment. Nothing about this was posed or contrived. It genuinely was just how Brittany and I were living for those few days in Lisbon. And one thing I love to do when I know that I'm capturing a candid or real moment is to be a bit more flexible and lenient with my composition, with my angles, and with my perspectives. Now, technically this picture was backlit from the sun, but again, Portra 160, just magic. Photograph number 8 is, again, a picture that I would just get framed for my house. It's this beautiful sunset image shot on 35mm film at the south of Portugal, and I think everything about this image is just satisfying. If you've shot a sunset before, you know how annoying they can actually be to shoot. Most of the time, they look way better in real life than how they translate over photographs, and in this case, I think I nailed it pretty well. As you can see, there were a number of clouds in the sky, but at this exact moment, the sun was actually behind a cloud from my perspective, but not from the perspective of the water in front of me. So the ocean got this beautiful beaming glow of sunlight, but I managed to get only a soft glow because the sun for me was behind that cloud. Again, the colors and the tonality here with Portra 160 are just through the roof. I'm obsessed. Photograph number 9 is a studio portrait that I did with my friend and musician Danny Doucette, and I actually shot this as part of a feature for my brand called Bear. This whole feature was about Danny as a solo musician and how vulnerable and exposed she feels as a musician on stage when performing. The studio space we shot in for this in Toronto, Ontario, Canada was absolutely phenomenal. They had a beautiful, massive white cycle wall, all the lights you can imagine, this beautiful spotlight obviously, and in terms of the overall edit, I decided to go with a bit more of a cinematic approach where I made a lot of the shadows and the highlights actually a lot more teal and deeper blue colors while keeping Danny with her beautiful rich orange skin tone. And then finally, photograph number 10, going back to how we actually started the video, is with a ton of compression. This was a portrait I shot here in Mallorca of this beautiful model named Gigi, and again on the same theme of a tight compressed portrait, we shot this in a windowsill of her crouching and just moving around in that space, and I think what really brings home the image here is the compression and the tightness of the focal length that I chose to shoot in. Whenever I do a tight portrait that is body-centric, meaning the face is not really in the shot, what I typically like to do is I like to frame the shot so that just the model's mouth is showing, and then the neck and everything, but the top of the frame just shows the model's mouth and not the rest of the face, so that it still gives context to the fact that it's a human with a face and all that, but it gives more importance and more focus onto the body itself. I think her hand placement was perfect, I think my angle was also perfect, and overall it just feels like a really balanced image. And those are my top 10 photos of the last year in 2025. I'm looking super forward to shooting some amazing work in 2026. I hope you guys are too. You know the drill. If you like this video, make sure you smash that subscribe button and leave a comment down below what you want to see more of on this channel in 2026. But until next time, I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.